Something strange and terrifying is lurking beneath the surface, the Rob Parker terror. Rob Parker, one of the best cave explorers in the world, died while diving near South Andros in the Bahamas. In Britain, he was best known for setting a new depth record in 1985 during an epic pushing dive, a dive into an uncharted cave deep under the flooded tunnels at Somerset's Wookey Hole caves. His popularity has recently increased due to his love of climbing and his employment as an adventure film cameraman. Parker, born in Bournemouth in 1962, developed an early interest in adventure sports and quickly gained notoriety for rock climbing on the Dorset coastline's cliffs. He developed a profound and intense interest in caverns after moving to Bristol, where the Mendip Hills are nearby. He became one of the nation's best cave explorers at a relatively young age. Parker was initially drawn into Wookey's network of flooded channels, where aiding many expeditions done by his cave diving master, Martin Farr, and he quickly grew interested in continuing that exploration beyond the restrictions given by the available technology at the time. Parker's yearning for adventure brought him to Mexico in 1984, where he worked with Bill Stone. This collaboration lasted Parker's life. Stone came to the UK the following year to aid Parker in exploring the Wookey system. Despite being in Somerset, this trip was to a hostile, complex region. Divers moved sealed containers from a subterranean camp to an air room near the end of the last excursion. Only at the record-breaking depth of 63 meters, when the full force of the River Axe burst through loose gravel, did Parker dive alone from this base. Parker's imaginative use of commercial mixed gas diving apparatus allowed him to explore deep caves safely. This innovation boosted sport diving in the UK and set a record. He explored above and below water caverns at home and abroad. His fame spread quickly once he discovered the new Chinese tunnels and Bahamian blue holes. In 1987, he explored Wakulla Springs in northern Florida with Stone and other US divers. He did this because he was curious about how technology could facilitate cave exploration. Parker Turner and Bill Gavin, two scuba divers, were charting caves in Indian Springs, a vast freshwater spring in the Florida Panhandle, in 1991. A series of exploration dives had been planned for about 2 years before the dive at Indian Springs, and it was the first of those dives. Dr. R.W. Hamilton had created customized decompression tables due to the cave's distinctive profile and the great depth at which actual investigation would occur. The dive plan called for a 40-minute transit at 140 feet below the surface while breathing an EAN-27 travel mix, 27% oxygen, balanced nitrogen. A descent and exploration at 300 feet below the surface while breathing trimix, 1444, 14% oxygen, 44% helium, balanced nitrogen, and then a 40-minute transit back to the surface to leave the cave. The working part of the dive took between 20 and 25 minutes. Two 80 cubic foot stage bottles were used for the 140 FSW penetration and exit, and back-mounted double 104s were used for the deep part. The penetration of the dive went practically precisely as planned. 3 paths were examined in the deep area known as the Wakulla room. None of these yielded any signs of flow or a tunnel. At 63 minutes into the dive, they started their exit. Bill Gavin had 2,300 psi in his two 104s and guessed Parker had a similar or slightly lower pressure. In 2 to 3 minutes, he reached the nitrous bottles at the top of the chamber, started breathing them, and didn't use doubles until he ran into the barrier at the so-called squaws restriction. Parker signaled that his diver propulsion vehicle seemed to be moving slowly as he picked up his second stage bottle during the egress. Parker's friend connected to his DPV with a tow strap and set the speed dial to the highest level. His distance from the entrance was only about 1,500 feet, thus this was relatively easy. The penetration of the dive went practically precisely as planned. The paths were examined in the deep area known as the Wakulla room. None of these yielded any signs of a flow or tunnel. 63 minutes into the dive, he started to surface. Parker had 2,300 psi in double 104s at this time, and he had imagined he had a similar or somewhat lower pressure. In 2 to 3 minutes, he reached the nitrous bottles at the top of the chamber, started breathing them, and didn't use doubles until he ran into the barrier at the so-called scores restriction. Parker signaled that his driver propulsion vehicle was moving slowly as we left after picking up our second stage bottle. They connected to my DPV with a tow strap and turned up the speed to the highest setting. The distance between them and the entrance was approximately 1,500 feet, which was a manageable challenge. Sand and possibly rock appeared to obstruct the limitation entirely. Because of the poor sight, it took a lot of work to determine where we were or what had happened. After many attempts, they uncovered the hidden line, but it took 45 minutes to escape. Parker's pressure gauge showed 400 psi left in his doubles. "What do we do?" he wrote on his slate. Parker's pal went back and sought the exit when he got back. Parker wasn't there. After 4 minutes, Parker's friend switched to his doubles, which had less than 300 psi of gas. Without any other choice, he made one final attempt to open a door. As he left, he spotted another line tied to the permanent one. He reached a point when the cave seemed to open, and he noticed something hanging on the edge of his view. As he swam beneath the object, he realized it was a diving regulator. His doubles were nearly entirely empty, and the regulator hung on the manifold. Looking up, he noticed the everlasting line ascending at an angle. He realized he was free and ran to our 100-foot decompression bottles. Before unclipping the second stage and breathing from the first decompression bottle, he was nearly holding his breath. Parker's companion recognized that Parker drowned while he wasn't at the bottles. As we've seen, cave diving can be a thrilling and rewarding experience, but it's important to always prioritize safety and preparedness. The Rob Parker incident serves as a reminder of the dangers that can arise when these precautions are not taken. Remember to always follow proper training and protocols when exploring the underwater world, and never let fear hold you back from experiencing the wonders that it has to offer. Stay safe out there, and happy diving.